So 4:30, I'm going to call the meeting to order for the Policy Personnel Committee. We can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Roll call.
Bobby Brown,
Here.
Angie Schreiber,
Here.
Catherine Solon,
Here.
Dr. Julie Sprague,
Here.
Danny Kyatt,
Here.
Any public comment? Probably not. Okay, first item A on the agenda is employee handbook, as this is a work in progress. I'm not sure how we want to do that, if we just want to go through entirely, or if the committee members have certain points to bring out on certain pages. I'll just open that up for discussion.
I have marked where I want to
Okay.
ask questions.
Okay. Thank you for printing these, by the way. That's easier than
oh,
paging.
Yes,
For me,
thank
it is.
Hold on, I'm getting there.
No
Okay.
problem.
On page 13, we're taking out the whole 504 plan. Is that what?
Page
Yes,
13. Okay.
we're a little embarrassed that it was there to begin with because it's just in the middle of everything. And so there's all the special ed information on the website, and then parents get copies of everything when they have meetings as well. So that's where it would be. This for employees, I mean, it doesn't make any sense to have it in the handbook because we don't have anything else special in the handbook.
It does seem kind of odd placed,
All right.
right?
Okay. Yeah, I was just questioning because I was like, okay, we're taking the whole thing out. Next one.
Can I ask where that information does live? If it's,
So for parents, the special ed links on the website, but most of the information, hi Tom, they get hard copies when they have meetings, like by law, every time there's an
Right.
IEP meeting, they have to have a hard copy of their rights and
Right, okay.
responsibilities, et cetera. But this being the employee handbook.
yeah, it's weird.
If there's an impending 504, all of that information will be shared at meetings and, if necessary, in writing, but it shouldn't live in the handbook like that.
Okay.
Do other staff members refer for 5014? And if so, where is that information where they can refer?
It would be part of the student assistance team process, so they would discuss it with a team of people.
Yeah.
And if there's agreement that's an appropriate referral, then that's what they
Okay.
would do.
Okay. Sorry. On page 14, well, so it's under employee progressive discipline, right? On page 13, but it continues to 14.
Okay.
Is there a reason why you're taking out the reference to the district's policies?
And the statute.
Yeah.
Okay, where am I looking here?
On the
Page
very top.
14.
where it's read out there.
Very top paragraph.
Unless that's a reminder to put the links in. Okay, yeah.
Well, the number 8 says grievance procedures is policy 3340 and 4340 link. So I'm not sure why it says that versus all the other areas that it calls out to specific, you know, like it actually has the.
Has the link.
That
Yeah.
probably needs the link there.
Are you checking too, Mary Kay?
3139 is staff discipline.
Mhm. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that it shows that they're going to be removing that.
Why would they
Why
remove
would,
it?
why?
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Just asking why would they remove
I
that?
don't think it's, if it were recommended to be removed, it would be struck through. That's a reminder to put the links in.
It is struck through with red. You mean purple?
So do you see this in yellow? Is this what you're talking about?
No,
Nope,
above there.
Right above it.
Oh, so the reason it's taken out there is because we want to move the links here under the grievance procedure.
But those are different policy numbers.
Yeah.
So 3139 and 4139 are policies regarding staff
Staff
discipline.
discipline.
And 3340 and 4340 regarding grievance. So two separate, or,
I believe we were gonna move those links hyphened with the title to match what grievance procedure is, but I see that it wasn't added up by our employee progressive discipline hyphen policies this and this, so that way we kept somewhat of a consistent between those. If you look at grievance procedure, we have policies right after the name. That, I believe, is what the intention was.
So on page 13, that would go right after.
Right after, yep, it would be
Oh,
dash.
you
I
just-
see. I see.
Policy.
Right after
Yes.
discipline?
right after the title, R,
Yes,
okay.
yes. So
Okay.
we'll have to make that change.
So, okay.
But then again, like,
It's
it's
not like
not
that
the,
anywhere else.
yeah, it's not the same in other places, so.
Like, the grievance one is the only spot, I thought. That one was marked. That was my next question.
Because you can look on, on letter Q right above that, use of private vehicles, and the policy is referenced in the body of the text, and then hyphened in the title, or the policy name. So, I guess I would
Keep it at the end?
keep it at the end with the titles added, don't, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, we definitely want to keep,
Yes,
so
keep
Wisconsin
that
statute and then the district policies 3139,
in there.
4139 in there, yeah.
With the title of those policies,
So keep
Yeah.
that as written.
yeah.
Yes. Or did you want the title of the policies? Because it's just the number.
How is it everywhere else?
I think
It's
it's
just
just
the
the
number.
number.
But you said to have it with the title.
It's not just the number, because look at Q. It says 8660 dash transportation by private vehicle. It's not the same throughout, actually.
Okay.
Some of them have a, and some don't.
So do we want to add that to,
The titles added to the,
Yeah.
is that what you're asking?
yeah,
What do you guys think? Because then it's gonna have to be done throughout the whole document, either one way or the other. You know
yeah,
what I
but
mean?
it shouldn't be,
Like
I
on,
think the
Consistent.
heading is the indicator we're looking for. So like under Q, Bobby, where it says use of private vehicles,
right,
I'm okay having, taking out that transportation by.
so it's not there twice?
Right, so it's not redundant and it's just cleaner, but we can go through and make sure that.
Yeah,
they
like.
match.
So
the-
either have all the titles in or none of the titles.
Right, because
Right,
like
with the
in, under O, page 12, 3139, 4139, it's hyphen staff discipline on the bottom of the page there, so it is on that one. You know what I mean?
That's why we took it out,
Yeah,
Katie.
because it was in the one prior.
Yeah,
Because what?
it was listed there under conduct and work rules, so that's why we took those policies out.
Out of the other place here?
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
I still think that could stay in, I mean.
yeah, because that's regarding the criminal activity,
Okay.
both those policies. They're the same thing, just one's for certified staff, one's for other staff.
Support staff, probably,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
As well as the state statute.
Yes.
Right, so just leave that in.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. And then what is with the yellow under S with those, you just have to add those links? Is that what you're saying with 3340, 4340?
Correct.
This.
So do we want it there though, or we want it
In
in the
here.
body because that'll keep consistent throughout the document?
You know what I'm saying?
We can add it to the
Okay.
body.
Okay.
And
What you got next? Catherine, just jump in whenever you have a question.
Let me find it. Page 24.
Nothing in between there?
No.
I gotta write something.
Okay, so items,
Just 1 second. Okay, go ahead.
okay, under letter C, licensure and certification. So we're
Yeah.
changing this, that will reimburse employees required to be licensed for, from 50% of the fee to 100%. I was just wondering, does the board have to approve that or no? I don't,
Well, the board would approve it if it's approved
In
through
this
this
book.
document.
Right.
okay, so we don't have to approve the change?
No, I don't
Okay.
think so.
We've been doing 100%, it's so infrequent, so this is when, so if we agree to move a staff member into special ed, let's say, and that it's our request, and that staff member needs a special ed license, we agree to pay for it.
Okay,
So that's really been our practice, but it isn't just for anyone who gets a license.
so now if we pay for it, are they under contract for a certain period? Or is it just, we just pay for it and they can leave the next year or mid-year?
Yeah, they could leave. The license is pretty nominal compared to like the bonuses that you asked we put language in.
Mhm.
So, yeah, we didn't put that in if they leave after a year.
Okay, because,
But we did for the other suggestion, like if we give a sign-on bonus.
okay, correct me if I'm wrong, did we pay part of an administrator's schooling? I don't know if it's an associate or bachelor's degree.
Administrators have a credit reimbursement, yes. They have that option.
Okay,
Not everyone takes it, but,
okay, is that paid at 100%?
no.
No, okay.
I can't remember the number per credit.
It's $450 per credit, and it's in our contract.
And it's in the contract.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. That was what I was looking at there. And then, page 26.
Can I just back up to that, as long as you asked about education? Is there language somewhere that explains that credit reimbursement or?
It's in their contract.
So it's different for everybody?
No, it's
for
only in the admin
administrators.
contracts.
Admin.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see, okay.
yeah.
So it wouldn't be in the
It
employee?
wouldn't be in
Okay.
there.
Yeah, okay,
Right,
got it.
yeah, you just said that. Okay, what's the page?
26. Selection for layoff steps, we're just getting rid of number 3. Is that, am I understanding that correctly? Because,
I would say just removing the.
Yeah, the classifications only, because you recently approved changed classifications,
Mhm.
especially in Jake's area, and so it wasn't consistent. We just took that out.
okay, so then what does the sentence mean? The district shall select the employee in the affected classification for layoff or reduction in hours, like,
So let's say housekeepers were overstaffed, then Jake would look at housekeepers only
okay,
for layoffs.
okay,
Those are defined on our salary schedule for support staff, so we figured it was a bit redundant.
Okay.
And if we fixed one, we have to fix the other, so this way we just look at the salary schedule, we just update it yearly and kept up to date. So that way we're not, like, we don't have two documents that don't coincide.
okay, okay. And this is the, what goes to the employees, right? So, okay, so we're making sure that a new employee, like, stuff that we know, we don't just assume that they know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, they get a printout of the salary schedule for
Okay.
support staff, and it shows all the classifications and the titles,
Okay.
so.
And then on page 35.
Oh, we went from spring break Friday to Good Friday.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the first one on this is the curriculum work. Employees will be paid $20 an hour for curriculum work. What does that mean? Is that curriculum review process, like what we just went through? Or is that curriculum for their individual class?
Their individual class, or like when we reintroduced health into the middle school,
Uh-huh.
we paid, because it hadn't been there for so long, we paid some summer hours for Allison to work on it. So it's an agreed upon number of hours for work they do in the summer when they're not under contract.
Okay, so it's not like their part-time?
No.
Okay,
Yep.
all right. And then under mentor compensation, employees serving as mentors for new teachers shall be compensated as follows. Mentors of level 1 new teachers, right? So do we have like a criteria or requirements that they're supposed to be doing with new teachers?
Yes, agreed upon, like most recently Anita Maddock, Tracy Frisch, and Shalyn Donkey have worked on our mentor program.
Okay,
Everything from the introductions during in-service at the start of the year to making sure every new staff member has a mentor. And then they've done this for a few years now, so they revise it each year to find out what the new staff is looking for, and then they make sure that's included. So they meet monthly, and then in the spring, we just had a celebration at
Or at the
Hudson Street
Mhm.
Pavilion, thank you. And, just talk about the mentor-mentee process and how helpful it was, so.
okay.
It's nothing that we purchased or anything like
Right,
that.
yeah, no, I
We
get
just
it.
want everybody to be set up with a go-to person so that if they have any questions, they have someone to
Okay,
check in with.
so the first, I guess, comment, and this isn't just mentorship, but there was quite a few teachers that were having problems with Canvas and how to use it. And so they would get frustrated and they just wouldn't put their stuff on Canvas. So, and they didn't know how to look up their students per class on Canvas and everything like that. And their mentor wasn't any help either because they didn't know much about Canvas either. So this particular teacher had to go like half a year, 3/4 of a year, something like that, before she found somebody that could help her with that. And she was all excited that she could get her student, role. So, I guess we want to make sure that everybody knows how to use Canvas. And,
Right.
what's the other one?
She's
Canvas,
talking about Canvas.
yeah, but what's,
You said
Infinite Campus, yeah, both of them.
Oh,
Because they just don't.
So we have tech coach positions too.
Okay.
And those names are published, so, and when I think of Canvas, I think of our resident expert, Donna Krieger. But if that person you're referring to didn't know just to reach out to Donna, then
Right.
I understand.
Yeah. And it
Normally
wasn't just the
building-
one person, like I know multiple teachers that were really struggling with it and they were frustrated and didn't want to use it because of that. So, so that was my comment on that. And then,
Okay.
when it says mentors of level 1 new teachers, is there other levels? And are they compensated for the other levels?
Now that you're pointing that out, I feel like we should take out level 1. I'm not even sure what that means, because sometimes we hire an experienced teacher and we still assign a mentor because they're new to the district.
Right. So mentors of new teachers to the district new teachers, or I don't know, something like that.
Mentors of new teachers, yeah.
Yeah.
I would change the of to for.
Level
Yep.
one probably comes from our educator effectiveness determination as far as where they're at in the evaluation cycle.
Okay.
I would just guess.
Okay.
I have a question on that same page if you're done with.
Yep.
Okay, so substitute staff, I always wondered this because if a substitute if a support staff is expected to substitute, they are not compensated, and a teacher expected to substitute is compensated at $20 an hour. If that support staff has a substitute license, I feel like they should be receiving, what is the incentive for them to
They do.
sub?
If they have a sub-license, they do.
Okay.
receive.
Can we put that in here?
I did not, ever. I'm just saying.
If you were in the classroom,
Right. I know that at the high school, and I'm guessing at other buildings, the trickiness of getting the subs covered every day, that Angie Sheldon does, I believe. It's difficult. So there was several instances where support staff would be called into classrooms to sub. So I just wondered why that language is not in there. Or it says, actually, will be paid at the regular hourly rate. So how does that work?
Mostly, in fact, I would say you're one of two exceptions I'm aware of. Support staff don't have the sub license.
Oh, okay.
And so
Right.
if they're supervising, there is no pay differential for that. But actually instructing, I know if we moved a support staff person, I'm thinking of one at North, then she received whichever pay was higher.
correct, one or the other, but double was not allowed.
Yeah.
So a support staff gets paid for X amount of hours in a day at a rate. If, let's say, 2 of those hours she subbed, she would get the sub rate instead of her hourly rate if it was above her hourly rate. If it wasn't, then we just paid hourly rate.
Can we add language here surrounding that? So like, if a support staff has a sub-license, that they will be paid, whatever, if it's $20 an hour,
But
or
if they're-
whichever rate is higher.
But if they're making more, then they're getting their higher rate. They're getting
Yeah.
so they're not getting anything, essentially. They're not getting anything additional.
Nothing additional, correct, but a teacher that subs is teaching during their prep time and getting that up, so they're not getting any additional either, because they're gonna now have to prep at night that time. So that's how we kind of weigh out those two circumstances, is hourly staff have a schedule, and when they're here for that schedule, they make a wage, where teachers are paid for classes and contract days that they're within their contract. So that's how that differs a bit.
Really comes down to prep, because support staff
Yes.
members don't get prep. They get a lunch, but
Okay. So we're gonna add that other verbiage in here? Is that right?
I just feel like there should be a little explanation there. I don't know.
Yeah, like it should be listed that if they have a sub-license, that they
They
will,
would be compensated at the higher rate.
yes.
Does that make sense?
Is this gonna be a factor anymore? Because at the middle school, we
Yeah.
don't have any of our support staff, so. And at the high school, I think there was some of that, but now I think you guys got it figured out by that new division,
I
right?
think there's only one
Yeah,
remaining
the
in the
middle school we
district,
did,
and
yeah.
she's actually hired for a teaching position now.
As an intern.
There's still one at the high school.
I think just to be,
Support.
add clarity, and so that nobody falls through the cracks and everybody's the same, they can't say, well, you did it for this person, you didn't do it for me, or whatever, right? I think if we just put it in policy and
Yeah,
follow
There's a
it.
lot of cracks though too, if you look at elementary staff and
Yeah.
versus a high school, I mean, there's a lot of cracks, but I think Katie, you did a good job trying to clean that up, so if the policy doesn't reflect that, and it needs to, because she was very clear on how we need to record things, because it was very messy.
Yeah,
Okay.
so
So-
I actually developed a whole flow chart that explains it. So
Okay.
if they are certified, if they're a certified sub, and it's during an hour they get paid. But if they're non-certified and only supervisory only, and it's during their normal hours, no additional pay, but if it's outside their hours, let's say they're only a half a day, I can't even think of
And
it.
I did have quite a few that were in that situation, they were
And then
part-time,
they
and they
do. And then the support staff does get paid their normal wage for those additional hours for being on site and helping out. But, yeah, we can definitely take the flow chart and clear up the language to coincide with that.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm happy with that. I think that's what the committee is asking for, is just that that language be clear. Thank you.
So on page 36,
Okay,
under summer school rates, it says certified staff who receive sign-on bonuses upon hire shall pay back the entirety of said sign-on bonus in the event they resign before completing 2 full years in the district. I like that, but is that only for, like, why is it under summer school rates, first of all? Second of all, is it only for certified staff?
So I look at teacher compensation at the top of the page, and I feel like that's what it was meant for. See appendix F, we could put it right under that.
Yeah. And like the, and like the title of the section would be like sign-on bonuses or something, you know?
Okay, we'll move that up. And then tech coaches, summer school rates, and Fab Lab rates is new.
Right. And then, under Fab Lab rates, it says the second sentence, Fab Lab yearly schedule will be developed and approved by April, indicating approximate teacher hours needed for the upcoming year. Approved by who? I don't recall ever getting a,
You're correct, we haven't.
okay, this is
So,
new, okay.
This is new.
Okay.
It's an area I'm working on. Our teachers that give their evenings up in the Fab Lab at the current moment do not get compensated anything. And so that's a lot to ask, having them there 4 hours a week, 42 weeks a year they run it. And so we have a coordinator that gets compensated.
I was gonna say, don't we have a Fab Lab manager?
Coordinator.
Coordinator, okay,
Yep,
that's what,
yep,
right.
one person, but there's sometimes 7 people there, 7 instructors there, or teachers there a night, helping run the Fab Lab. And so one of those 7 are getting compensated at the moment. So to make things a little cleaner, I've been working with Clint and the Fab Lab team, which is the whole CTE team, on coming up with a calendar where they will have theme nights. They've done this in the past a couple times and they were extremely successful. We're going to be making planters for Mother's Day where you can engrave something on it, or the canvas prints or t-shirts, or they're talking charcuterie boards and then learning to present them and that kind of stuff. So what we're working on is a Fab Lab schedule, how many teachers are going to be there a night, and then providing some value to their time being there. And so by doing a yearly schedule and having it approved, what I can say is approved either by, I would say the business manager, because that's who's going to be figuring out the budget for that area. And if there's, if they have too many staff on, that's a discussion between the business manager and the Fab Lab team. We need to scale back a little, or, yep, this looks good, we're good to go. We're kind of piloting this idea this fall into this next school year to see how effective and how much we can maybe grow the participation in our Fab Lab. So.
Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of the community that doesn't know about it.
Yeah, so we're actually gonna tap into Donovan to create some social media communications,
Okay.
and then be able to get those hung up around town. There were a lot of great ideas that came out of our Fab Lab meetings, and the minute we asked, I think the calendar was full, and it was pretty neat to see. And we're looking at expanding it, like I said, to culinary. Our business area, finance, is interested in joining the crew too. So we have a lot of interest in even building it out a little bit more. But I can put that will be approved by district business.
Okay.
Yeah, the board should ask for a Fab Lab report at some point in the year, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Is it possible that we could get like a Fab Lab report, like midway through the year or something, and how it's going?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure, but, yeah,
Okay.
because we're having them track a lot of things, how the
Okay.
usage and.
Yeah, that'd be good to know.
Yeah, take pictures of all the projects that they're doing and that, so it's
Yeah.
pretty neat.
Put that on.
Like January-ish?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the regular board agenda, like the list, yeah.
That's up to you, I just wanted to make sure.
Full board?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that would be interesting, and I think the full board would like that, okay.
We have a running agenda, so,
Mhm.
thank you.
And I apologize, I missed one on page 11. This is my last one. Under letter J,
Okay,
professional appearance. Employees should dress professionally and appropriate for their positions in order to set an example, right? Is there, can we say that they should dress business casual? Because I've seen some that are just like, why are you, why? Is that possible?
It is, I think of like someone, Ray Churchill. I wouldn't expect him to be business casual in the autos area.
oh, well, yeah. but-
You know,
Oh,
so
yeah, okay.
there are so many exceptions, and elementary teachers will tell you they're on the ground a lot with their young students, and so they want to be dressed comfortably as well. Yeah.
Okay,
And then there's the definition of business casual. What does it mean
right.
to everyone? I guess my suggestion would be if somebody is not, then I'd rather address that person
Individually.
specifically than
Okay.
try to capture everything in writing, because it's hard to cover
Okay,
all of the
so
exceptions.
2 items that I am kind of referencing are leggings. That's, to me, that's not dressing professionally. I understand it's comfortable, so are jogging pants, but you know what I mean? And then, was it the mucklucks shoe thing? I don't, it's like wearing slippers? I don't know.
They're
Staff?
Crocs.
Yes. Yeah, or Crocs, yeah, yeah.
I
I've
understand
seen all
that.
that with the staff.
During a
yeah.
school year, or?
Yeah. So to me, I don't think that's dressing professionally.
Oh, boots?
Boots,
The-
is that what those are? Yeah,
The
I don't know.
shearling, the shearling boots?
Yeah,
Or look like moon boots?
yeah.
Yeah, those are Ugg
Brown
boots.
and fuzzy on the inside or
Mhm.
whatever, yeah,
Ugg boots.
whatever those are called. So,
Well,
by the
I
look on
would,
your face, you were surprised that we saw that. Yeah,
well,
Not leggings, because I think especially in winter, those are common.
or maybe
Um,
like under a dress, but not just leggings.
Yeah, I was gonna say under
Yeah.
dresses or
Yeah.
whatever. And Phi Ed teachers, I think, wear them.
well, yeah.
I
So-
guess it would almost depend on the department.
Yeah.
You'd almost have to have a separate dress code for each department.
Yeah.
I would
Okay.
agree that it could be handled on an individual basis, though. I don't, and it's a matter of judgment, sort of. I think, I don't know if a Packer hoodie is appropriate for wear either, or whatever, you know what I mean? I don't like emblem stuff, but that's my preference.
Yeah.
I mean, the language is there, there is an expectation of dress code. It's
Right.
just whether or not it's interpreted by everybody the same way or followed,
Right,
so,
so that's what I was referencing when I'm
Okay.
asking about that.
okay. And that's all, or
Mhm.
that's it?
Mhm.
Catherine, did you have any, or Danny?
I just wanted to wonder on page 28 under the holidays, why we list all the holidays except for Christmas and Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. We have Good Friday, we have New Year's Day, we have Thanksgiving Day, we have Memorial Day, Labor Day, and then we have
Yeah.
December 24, December 25, and
Yeah.
December 31.
Weird.
Yeah.
And we skipped Juneteenth.
And we skip Juneteenth as well. Well, we're not in session.
I'm just, I kid.
Yeah,
So why
Let's
would that
just
say
say-
December 24th and not Christmas Eve?
yeah.
Any idea?
Are all the other ones random dates,
Mm-mm.
where this one is just, well, 4th of July, but
Christmas Eve is,
otherwise
they're titled.
everything is different days.
Christmas Eve is not a different day, random.
Right.
Right,
It's the same every
yeah.
And
year.
on the very top, the beginning of that, it says New Year's Day.
I have
Oh,
no
I
idea.
That's very
But-
odd. I think those should
Yeah.
all be titled
Okay.
their holiday,
Yeah.
if the
Okay,
committee
so it's
agrees.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
because
We can-
great point, Danny. Okay, anybody else on the employee handbook? So then we would move to item B. Just to clarify then, would those corrections come back to committee again, or would this be ready for board approval on the next full board meeting?
I don't think there was anything earth-shattering in the changes.
No, very
The only
grammatical.
big change would have been that addition of that substitute. Yeah, the flow chart.
Language.
And if there was questions, that can be answered at the board meeting. So I think it could come forward, because it will be presented to us before the board meeting to look at. So it
Okay.
would be you guys doing your due diligence to make sure that those changes were addressed.
Right,
And if not, it could be brought up at that meeting.
so then it would go to the full board, Mary. Okay.
And you would like it left with all the strike-throughs just as it is?
Yeah, so that we
So
all
they can
it.
see.
Yep.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
maybe put the changes in red, so that we can easily find them,
Sure.
you know?
Or a color that's not there.
Yeah, something.
Anywhere in
Yeah.
there.
Green.
Okay.
Indicates whether they look good.
So item B is student handbook, so that takes us to the other handout that she gave us on high school, middle school, and I assume that northeast and
You guys
That's
all-
West
one
are all the
of that,
same?
So they should be relatively the same with different messages.
okay. And we can-
For the elementary handbook.
Sure.
And we can go through those in the same way. if you-
Which one are you looking at?
I'm on high
first?
school first, I'm sorry.
High school?
So in the high school handbook, we have a lot of changes in there. The changes that were recommended by the Pupil Services Committee are highlighted on page 35 and 36. They have to do with the dress code.
So, I have a question regarding that. Tops that are worn must not be lower in the front and back than the tops of the armpits. Like, you're just talking like half shirts. Like, they're coming
No,
like this?
Like, so tops have to be, it's talking about the front and the back. So if you look at this level, it can't be lower than that, lower than the tops of the armpits in the front and the back. Does that make sense?
So like you wouldn't have a blouse on that was backless?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like trying to wrap my head around that. I was like, what? Okay, so like, no, but, okay.
Tops that are worn must not be lower.
Does not
Okay.
be lower in the front and the back than the tops of the armpits.
And ours
That reads
says,
goofy.
shirts, tops must cover all bra straps, midriff area, and entire back, and have no visible cleavage. That's what ours says. So, I mean, if you keep going back and forth, it's gonna just go keep that going back and forth.
Right, I
And
do-
then there's elementary, and I don't know. I mean, at that level, you could pretty much say anything and everything would be fine. At our level, we don't, like, I'm not gonna sit here and like run people down. Like, if somebody brings it to my attention, we try to have our teachers take care of it. But if they bring it to my attention, like if it's a girl, it's very awkward for a male teacher to or even a male administrator to say anything to them.
Yeah,
It's
I
awkward.
wouldn't.
And we don't, like, I just tell Teal, like, I'm taking all the ladies, like,
Right.
If there's two females there, somebody has to deal with the male, but like, we're not chasing people down. But if it becomes a distraction and somebody brings it to our attention, the teacher is expected to
Yep.
talk to the student first and have that conversation. If they don't feel like they're getting anywhere with it, then they will contact us. But they're not gonna like stop the class and kick the kid out of the classroom and things like that.
Yeah,
Same
not,
with
But this is a guideline. But and, I mean, that could be a natural guideline just because of the age. This is probably what you had in the past. and
So in other
we
words, they're not
took
gonna
it-
force it.
Because we were very
Right.
consistent to middle school and high school for
Yep.
quite some time.
Okay.
well, I think they will enforce it when it's,
When
like she
it's
said,
brought
she
to
doesn't
their
have time
attention.
every single day to
But otherwise,
go,
they're not gonna be
your shirt's
chasing
too
every single
short,
student
your
down."
shirt's too short.
Well, right, but
you know.
I'm talking like the obvious ones, they come in a half shirt, you
Well,
know,
yeah,
or
and then
tube
you would
top.
address it, or a teacher would address
Something
it
like that.
first.
Every size, this goes back to the days when we had the shorts and you were supposed to like
Yep.
wear your arms. Well, depending upon the student's size, it's different.
Right,
It's completely different. And the midriff is very similar to that. And to be honest with you, like, it's not always it's what's being sold in these stores. You know, you're almost at the mercy of some of the clothing that you're purchasing for your children. I mean,
Yes and
families
no.
need to make a good decision. I mean, I always
Yeah.
do with my kids, but
yeah, I do too.
that doesn't mean like they're leaving home and not changing their clothes when they get to school either. I mean, we got all kinds of stuff running
Yeah.
around like that.
Yeah,
You know, we thought about communication of this.
Right.
Because, like, I would want families to have this
Yes.
now, when they're
Because
buying
if they do
school
any
clothes.
back-to-school
Yes.
shopping or anything
Right.
like that, if they get it at the end of our
August.
Yeah,
We're up to
next, even at the end of July, I mean, just the sooner the better.
Yeah.
So is that something that can be communicated with families, like now, or
It's-
early?
Yeah. As soon as this stuff gets
Right.
approved, it needs to get
And yeah, it needs to get approved by the full board, but.
yeah, and then like, just specifically to this, you could send out a call,
Communication specifically to that.
yeah. To let people
Amongst
know.
other things, but, because
Yeah.
our handbook went over, like I said at the beginning, it had a full revamp under the behavior sections, but
Good,
that
okay.
specifically too.
And when you do that call, I think it would be a good idea to let the families know that we will be enforcing this year. You know what I mean? Yes, you're not gonna hunt kids down, but a teacher, you know, can dress code a student, and they would maybe send them down to the office, and then, you know, they go talk to one of you guys, and then they have to change or whatever, right? But if we don't follow through with it, nothing will change, because they'll just keep wearing the same stuff.
Well, you do the best you can.
Yeah.
There's always going to be kids, some kids just fall through the cracks, or it depends upon who you are. If you're a good student, sometimes you get away with a little bit more, right? Like, I'm just being honest with you. Not everybody calls everybody out on the same thing. My question is with the dress code with like prom and stuff, that used to be a big deal. How is this going to affect that? Because those dresses are completely different nowadays.
Anything goes, yeah. for-
Anything goes,
You know,
right?
I think it should still apply.
But
You
we
don't have
used
to buy
have
that kind of dress.
and Then what are you gonna do, like kick the kid out when they're walking into prom, like, did they spend $500 on their dress?
Well,
I
if the
mean,
families
I don't
know that ahead of time, then if they blatantly
think
ignore
we
it,
don't-
then that's on them.
So we didn't address the dance dress code in here. You know, it's like dance admission, it just talks about grades and attendance and that kind of thing.
and where is that?
Next page.
That's right below it,
Oh.
on 36.
Yep, yep.
And the dress code is not specifically addressed for dances, because that's a good point, Heather.
They also have, like, the slit comes way up high, which if you were following the dress code, that probably isn't allowed either. I'm not sure, but, well. And a lot of the prom dresses are two pieces with the belly showing.
Yep.
Now that fad's almost going out, there's gonna be a new one coming in, what I'm getting at, you can't stay on top of it. I mean, it's hard, I'm not saying that we need to be loose, but it's very difficult. Like when I was a volleyball coach and Tom was a principal, having words on your butt, and the volleyball team wanted that, was a big deal. But Tom was like, no, that's not okay, you can't do it. But then all of a sudden, 5 years later, everybody's got stuff on their butt, and it's not a big deal, right? So, I don't know, it's just, if you're gonna go tight, then it's there's always something that's gonna pop up. I mean, and that's okay, but we just have to realize that. People are gonna just push it. And I think that's where the high school kind of went to some looser to try to
Like undergarments being covered.
yeah,
Um,
because it was one thing after the other. Every year,
all the
Well,
time.
if you don't, but if we don't address like the dance dress code, then it's like a free-for-all. You can show up with whatever.
how did it go this
Well,
year? Seemed to
So I
be-
don't want to do that
But
either.
There was, there were bellies showing.
We
and
they didn't have a dress code for dance this year, did you?
No.
It was just the same. But bellies were showing and backs and the slits and.
So how would it be okay on school property at some times and other times it's not? So I think
Well,
it should just be standard.
Same thing
Same
with
thing.
like swimming. I mean, a boy wearing a Speedo wouldn't be okay in the hallway here, but if they're swimming, we had this discussion amongst principals and athletic directors too about, and dress code came in there and how do you, because there's a different expectation at certain events.
Mhm.
And depending on what perspective you're coming from, that can look different.
I think it's always a judgment, if a statement is in there that says, in a situation like a dance, if the clothing is worn and is in good taste and appropriate for the occasion, there has to be some judgment. If a student walks in and the dress goes down to here in the front, maybe there's a conversation there. But I don't know how you, it's always changing and it's always different fashion trends come out.
Right.
And hundreds of dollars are spent and
Oh.
multiple family members are coming to that march.
Well, my personal opinion is I'm not so concerned with the dance admission because I think that for the most part it is done in good taste and I feel like they look beautiful. But I just think we need to be conscious about the dress code in school and not, I'm not saying you discipline every person for every time they're wearing something could be dress coded or not, but,
So then how does that
But if
become
it's-
fair?
hmm,
How does that become fair?
well, because the dances are,
No,
like,
I'm talking about like in the school. One kid will get dress coded and
because
the other kid won't.
there would be somebody writing a dress code discipline there'd
Really,
be 25 a
It's really
day.
spring and fall. It's not winter.
Yeah.
It's when it gets warm outside.
It's still in the winter.
I mean, you
Yeah,
try
we
to
don't
enforce
have
it
it as much in
and make
winter
it known and
and
remind
just
students all the
change it.
time, but I don't think you can write a disciplinary action for every single time somebody does it, because somebody would be doing that full time. Yeah,
I think that the first month would probably be a little rough, but after that, after the parents got it in their head that we're enforcing it, kids got it in their head that we are enforcing it, I think it would be better.
So this is what the high school has, and then I had shared what we have.
Right.
I guess is that good enough? That they're different but similar? Or what? 'Cause
Can you
that's
read
kind of where
yours
we're at
again?
with this handbook. It's tough. Like,
Can
it's
you-
tough for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, we're all updating this stuff. What's gonna get passed by the board,
Can
Like, where
you
are we
read
at?
your sentence again? That you
Page
said
10.
about,
On page 10 of the.
oh, I'm sorry, yeah, I have it right here, John.
So page 10 of the middle school, number 3 down, we have it highlighted because we just had these as policies coded, but then we added them back word for word. So for the dress code number 3, it talks, we have clothing requirements, talks about the dresses, skirts, and then the third bullet down says shirts, tops, must have long bra straps, midriff area, and entire back and have no visible cleavage. So we don't have anything saying it's longer in the front or shorter in the back.
I think what you have, Heather, is a little more clarifying than longer in the front and shorter in the back. That was a bit confusing. If we could just adopt that, what she had.
To the high school book?
Yeah,
Okay.
for the high school book. That's pretty simple,
And then it creates consistency
through the buildings, yeah.
through the buildings, because the middle school
Congress
knows
not
what
a
they're.
problem in the elementaries, no. Kids are
Ours
just
is more about safe
Safety.
clothing and wearing shoes and
Right.
cold weather gear.
Yeah.
Which is appropriate for K through 12,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So when did our policy, dressing, grooming, it says that last revised September 28th, 2021. But, I mean, I could pull up, dig through my files, but this is not what was in there.
It could have been a he or she, that could have been up the revision, meaning not necessarily a full change in everything.
All right, I mean, you can keep going,
I
I'll,
mean, I can look to see what it was, but doesn't necessarily mean a whole revamp of
Right,
it.
which board policy is it, 5511? Is that
Yeah.
what you're talking about?
yeah, because I printed them off when I first got on the board, and that's not the policy, as far as I remember, I'm gonna double check here, but you can keep going, that was the only thing I had questions on. Oh, and the beeping,
Okay.
backle.
So I'm just replacing that part.
Sentence with the sentence that,
The shirt/tops must cover all bra straps, midriff area, and entire back,
The
and no visible clothing.
third bullet, yes.
I'm getting rid of,
Tops that
Well,
are
Clint,
worn
could-
must not be lower.
Could your student dress code, the whole section, match what Heather has for her whole section? I'm just throwing it out there without reading both of them together. Then we have the middle school handbook saying the same thing as the high school handbook. I don't know if it gels all the way. Heather, do you have shoes worn all the time?
Yep.
Yes.
You can see archived policies on board docs.
Do you,
Here are the two changes.
we have
I
the,
know.
so we also have the students in violation of the dress code will be asked to wear something that they have with them or put on clothing provided by the school that will meet the dress code described. Failure to do so will result in the student being sent home.
And do you have in middle school, if they don't,
we say students who violate the rules will not be admitted to class until they're wearing appropriate attire. And/or maybe suspended for multiple offenses.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in there, yeah. But most of our kids today.
yeah.
On the high school book, it talks about clothing that are disruptive or threatening. Is that on yours also?
Yep.
Heather? Okay. Oh, I got it.
This code
I
is
got
not
it.
intended to limit the right of building and discriminatory to establish rules and restrictions regarding other paraphernalia dress that disrupts or threatens to
Yeah.
disrupt the learning environment of the Antigo Middle School.
It's also on the fifth bullet under number 3 is what I was looking at. Yeah. Profanity, gang stuff, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's the same language, actually.
Two blankets. That's become a big deal.
Blankets?
Blankets?
Then you'd add that into this area right here, where students are prohibited from wearing or possessing accessories and or other items that may intentionally or unintentionally cause harm to the property, including but not limited to belts, bracelets, collars, wrist spikes, heavy link chains, and wallet chains. You have to
And
add
blankets?
in there.
Why would
Okay.
they be wearing blankets in class?
Because they don't have enough clothes on.
Because I wish I had a blanket right now. It's freezing in here.
Yeah.
Well, when you go to movie theaters, people bring
You
blankets
bring
into the
blankets,
movie
you're
theaters.
exactly right.
And we have little fourth graders that sit with their coats on top of them because they're freezing.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I don't really like, the whole collars. I know there are some kids that wear some of that stuff. And it didn't even, I don't know, some of this,
Yeah.
like, about 10 years ago, it would
Heavy
have
link
struck me.
chains.
But now, like, it's just, people wear all kinds
Wallet
of
chains
different
right
things.
there.
I don't know, it's just weird reading through this. Like 10 years ago, I would have been like, no, you can't have that on. And now, I don't even blink my eye when I see a kid that has like a.
Because
collar
everybody's
necklace on
expressing
because they're
themselves
expressing
in
themselves,
different
right?
ways, yeah.
And they were expressing themselves 10 years ago, but it was
They were
Different.
different,
right?
yeah.
Like, that's what, yeah, I don't know.
Collars and
Better.
spikes, I know we have kids.
Mm-hmm.
So
that wear
it was
collars
better.
and spikes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking of a couple kids right now.
And I
Now,
mean,
it
it's not
becomes a
issue.
distraction. I know that I had a teacher talk to me about one of the students, and we had to sit them down and talk through that with them, and it was fine, like, he understood. But it was because it was becoming a distraction in class, like, he was taking it on and off and doing all kinds of goofy stuff with it.
And then where do you draw the line when you would, like piercings and,
But the way it's written in here, it does allow administration,
The-
you know, to have some authority. I don't think it's bad having it in there. I think it's good just to keep it in there. If we want to add
Right.
the word blanket, we can.
We got rid of the hats and hoods piece too, because we just said we are not gonna fight that battle, because it is a battle.
And with us, we used to not battle it, and then last year we said we're going back to no hats and hoods. But
What
we
does-
struggled with that too, because then in the class, like in the hallway, we would have them not do it, but when they're in the classroom, the teacher still has their autonomy of what they allow or don't allow, and it just keeps going back. And it's really at 7th grade is where I saw the biggest
How does that work?
concerns. What?
How does that work if we have a school policy on something, say you can't wear a hat, and then the teacher has their own autonomy in their classroom? They still have to follow the school
I'm
policy.
going to be honest with you, there's some students that wear hats because it falls under some trauma-sensitive concerns, and they'll wear their hat, maybe they got their hair cut over the weekend, different things, and then we're sending out emails saying,
Yep.
this kid has permission to have a hat on, versus just
So
take
that's
the
why
kid
they
where
removed
they're at.
that.
And we didn't have hardly any kids wearing hats, but 7th grade was where they were pushing it, because the teachers that we had weren't as consistent. We tried to get them more consistent, but that's where we saw some of the concerns. And then by the end of the year, I think we maybe had about 10 kids that would try to wear it, and then at the very end, maybe there was 3. And when you're working through some behaviors with some students, you gotta pick your battles,
right?
okay? And at some point, if it's like, you can wear your hat in social studies if you behave and do what you need to do, and we're gonna let you wear your hat in social studies.
So if it's said to be, like, from being it for trauma,
Hoods too, I
well,
remember
okay,
that.
can we have something from counselor, doctor, something? And then we know that kid that can, you know,
Our counselors are constantly talking and working with our students with trauma. I mean, it's not gonna just.
well, I know, but I'm saying that if one student has that going on and they need to wear a hat, then
Then there should be
there should be documentation, and then all the teachers know.
We do.
I'm really
You're gonna
against
get
the hats
another
and
one
hoods thing.
this
I
year.
mean,
Max
against-
is gonna wear his hat every day because he has a visual impairment, and he needs to have a hat on to help with the lighting. Everybody just knows Max is gonna wear his hat.
Right, because he has a visual impairment, but what I'm saying is that there's medical
What's-
reasoning behind
But
it.
then there's really, when you get the kid who's just stubborn and doesn't want to take his hat off, well, what do we do? Like, he gets to, well, this kid gets to wear his hat, but I don't get to wear my hat?
Right.
And it just causes a lot of,
It's like it's a microaggression.
yeah.
Yeah.
And a lot of schools have gone away from the hats and hood rule just because of these types of conversations and trying to get kids to come to school and participate. It is a constant conversation.
So what is your feeling, Clint, on hats? What, you said you are completely what?
I think we strike the hats altogether, at least from the high school piece, just because
You guys have a lot
that
of
is not the battle it's not the hill we want to die on. I mean,
Okay, so is that also in policy?
Well, the other thing too is you're leaving it up to the administration's discretion too. So if it becomes a problem in the classroom,
If it's a
then
distraction
you
to
have that
learning environment.
distraction that you can bring that student in and say, this is what's going on. I can see that.
Or if,
Some days when I was at school, I wish I would have been.
You know, like, I remember a student situation when I was here, and I worked with this kid a lot, and we talked a lot, and he would come in on his lunch and talk to me, and he'd turn the chair around backwards and talk, and he said to me one time, he's like, you know, this just brought tears to my eyes. He goes, I wish my mom was more like you. And I felt so blessed that he thought he could come and talk to me like that. And he wore a hood all the time. And before I knew these things about him, he was saying he's kind of like a toughie when he'd come into the library or walk through the halls or whatever. And I'd say his name, why don't you take your hood off? And he turned around to me one time and he goes, you know what, Miss Brown? What is my hood doing? My hood's not hurting anything. And I just thought it was so much more important for me to be there and talk to him and be his friend or be that one adult that he could turn to. Why was I worried about his hood? You know what I mean? Like, it really just wasn't the battle to be fought. I wanted him to come and talk to me.
These kids all day is take your hat off, take your hood
Oh.
off. And that's all they think of you.
But what it was so
If you're not getting
great-
a rise out of you, I'm gonna keep doing it. What are you guys gonna
And
do?
they're gonna do it every day.
Right,
Yeah.
but to be there for that student in a way that he needed as a young person.
Which
I didn't really
this
care
now
if his hood
becomes
was on.
universal. You don't have to, everybody's treated the same versus, okay, I have to identify that I'm having trauma and that I feel that the hood is doing
Right.
a big deal. Like it's helping me, like that's where I think that's where that conversation came from with the high school teachers. Which we used to be very lenient about it. I was like, I'm just happy you're here. And then last year, some of our teachers just in 7th grade or 6th grade, they were just not happy with us. Okay, well, let's try it. And we all came to an agreement, like, we're gonna have individual conversations with students and ask questions and really get to know the students more about the why. And if we feel that it's not appropriate or if they're doing something that's distracting, then we'll deal with it that way. And that's pretty
Individually,
much
right.
we came. So even though we have this here, like I said, a 4th grader, I've got 4th graders that wear hats and hoods all day because they're cold.
And I mean, I think there's classroom expectation too. And the teacher does that in the beginning of the year, you know,
Yeah.
I don't want you wearing hats in my classroom. So then they deal with it. But what I'm concerned about is that language in this policy
Right. and-
about hats.
Is it in the school board policy?
In policy 5511, it's not.
No,
Okay. Because I just don't want it to be here and not here.
Yeah.
right, and then we have all
Because
different
when
versions
people
of it.
come even to sporting events, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you, it bothers me when people are wearing hats at sporting events, but they can do that, but they take it off when they stand for the pledge, right? And that's appropriate everywhere, right? So-
I'm much more concerned about that policy than this one.
So that's something to, I mean, we can take that out of ours too, but it doesn't matter, I just wanna make sure, like, that's why we're here, is we wanna be more consistent.
Do we have any students that are dressing like animals? I know that was a big thing about a year ago.
We've never had students do a lot of that stuff. I mean, we have a lot of kids that wear these
Headbands.
The headbands?
little headbands and stuff, but to be honest with you, that doesn't mean that they're trying to be like a cat. They're just, that's what they're wearing.
Right.
So,
That's all I've seen is the headbands with the ears.
Okay.
That's it.
Right. Okay. How do you guys feel about pajamas?
we have pajama days.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, other than specific
And
days like that. but-
We don't,
How do you
we have some kids that wear police pajama pants to school. I'm gonna be honest with you, that's what they all have at their house, some of these families. So,
Okay,
I'm not concerned
I'm
about
not
it as long
concerned
as
about
it
it.
okay,
meets the dress code.
okay.
Because I agree with you.
We're not wearing onesies all day, you know, that would be a special occasion, but like if they're bringing in those pajama police pants, and we do have some,
Very,
Okay.
yeah, very small. though.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
Any,
So-
okay.
Are you saying that we should update the board policy online to match this?
The board policy is meant to be,
A broad general.
Yeah.
right, and then districts can make more specific requirements in their handbooks.
So then
Okay, I just don't,
I'm wondering what the administrative guideline says, you know?
Probably
and as a-
less yet.
Oh.
as a parent, I'd be like, how come it doesn't say the same language in the policy as it does in here? Like, why?
We
is
did
it
have it like
consistent?
that.
Yeah.
You guys had asked for more specific. So then we went back, all we had in ours was student dress code, and we had the the code right there, 5511.
Yep.
And then it was, at this meeting said we want more specific details. So then we went back and we put more specific back in.
I chuckle because the administrative guideline probably is, it's not even a paragraph. It's one
Yeah.
sentence, 2 sentences, maybe, 3. And it just says each principal in consultation with his or her staff shall develop a dress code which complies with Board of Education Policy 5511,
Which is,
Right.
which is that broad statement.
Right, and within
then
the
what they're
handbook.
doing here in the handbook is narrowing it
Yeah.
down to a little more. Personally, I'm happy with what you guys have done.
yeah. Are we ready to move on?
So, I'm sorry, what direction are we going? Is anything being changed in the policy or not?
The policy,
Yes,
no,
no,
because
no.
the policy is broad and kind of umbrellas
Okay.
what is in each handbook.
Okay,
Are you in agreement with that? Okay.
okay. Right.
And then Clint is just matching with
And
what.
Clint
Heather-
updated
And that one
his.
paragraph about the
And he
shirts.
kept out
Yep.
the hats and hoods on his.
And I added
And you added what?
blankets.
Oh, you added blankets, okay.
Yeah.
I'll add blankets.
Well, I mean, nobody coming in a like heavy sweatshirt and heavy pants is gonna be carrying around a blanket probably. So, I mean, maybe, but,
Linus did.
They do,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
That's what I'm
they
thinking
do
of
bring
when you say
blankets.
blankets.
I've seen that.
So we're adding that in there? You know what I mean?
I put it in under the,
Okay. Yeah, but-
They do bring blankets in.
yeah,
I don't, I believe it.
limited to
I don't think they need
blankets,
to.
belts, bracelets.
Okay.
Oh. I
I can add it.
don't even mind that because,
Okay.
like, right now, I wish I had a blanket. I'm freezing.
Yeah.
You just put the
You know.
Wanna cuddle?
Okay.
Any other questions in the high school, or anything else you guys wanted to share, high school, middle school?
The transportation, where is it?
Okay.
Page 15?
And 19.
right,
Middle school, 19, high school, 15.
Is there, anything in here that says what will happen and that students, if they are misbehaving bad enough, like bullying, threatening?
On the
maybe,
bus?
Yeah, maybe kicked off the bus for a time?
on there.
Is it?
I feel like that language is
I think we
somewhere.
worked with Tim, right? Did you get Katie on? She's the one who filled this one in there.
Okay.
Let's see.
So while on the bus, students shall abide.
Disciplinary action up on the top says, disciplinary action may be taken with pupils based on video documentation of pupil, okay, that's about the video. But I thought there was a part in here that talked about the parents guardian on the first page.
There's a bus expectations document link.
That's is that the document still hanging in all the buses? The
Yeah,
bus
what link is that?
expectations?
Is that a policy or is that?
Don't know, they were put up about 6 years ago.
This is what it reads, Angie. This,
Okay, so that doesn't say what will happen if,
no.
if you don't
Just-
follow the
It
expectations?
just
Okay.
details what's expected.
On the
Okay.
bottom, I think it says first incident, second incident,
Oh,
third.
yeah.
First incident, bus driver will have a private discussion with your child about what had happened, what needs to be corrected. Second incident, bus driver or the bus company will call the child's parent. Third incident, bus driver or the bus company will call the principal, lead teachers at the school. And sometimes you just skip right to if it's that serious, you go right to number 3, and that's an understanding between the bus company and the building principal.
And then it's handled just like a behavioral issue if you were in school.
Yes, we put it in
Right.
Infinite Campus,
Yep.
we contact families, we have had students off the bus with agreement, with the families, say, just so you know, this has happened and your student needs to be off the bus for this amount of time, but then we always talking ahead of time because we need to get them to school, right? Otherwise they're gonna
Right.
be absent, but most of our parents have been really good, like if it's that serious, they understand. And if it's been going on, and if they, the only time that we have a concern is if something's been going on, it's been repetitive, and nobody has made any contact. That's annoying to parents and to all of us. A lot of times students, you know, maybe they don't feel comfortable telling the bus driver. Bullying is one of those. A lot of times they'll go home, then they'll either contact the school or they'll contact the bus company, but then we circle together and we have to do an investigation. So
Right.
it's not like it's like immediate, like you have to investigate. And with their cameras now, they got really good footage and they send it to us.
Do all of the buses have cameras then?
Yeah.
Good.
Just out of curiosity, are there a lot of bus issues? Yeah.
And I feel like some of our bus drivers, the buses that it's like in a classroom.
Yeah.
Sometimes teachers have really good routines,
Right.
bus drivers have good routines. And if you have seating, I think seating charts, so seating assigned seats is huge. And those that have it, seems to be a well-oiled machine.
Right.
And those that don't, that's our first intervention. We need to seat the student in the front. We can't have all of them sit in the front. Well, then what's your seating chart?
Can
If
we
you don't want to go
require-
to it, I'd like it to be
Can we
mandatory.
require our bus company to have seating charts on their buses?
We've tried,
You can
and
ask.
not all drivers are, they don't want to, but we're going to try again, because it does make such a difference.
Because I know the school requires us, with our company, to have all the required seats on the buses for the kids.
Well, and that would make it a little bit easier maybe to notice if you're missing one.
Mhm.
Yeah, true.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, and if there's damage to the bus, you know
Who to blame?
Yeah.
what child to
Yeah.
go to get that damage fixed.
right. Because I know like Trinity was left behind up at Jack Lake on one of the field trips.
Oh.
So, yeah. And I thought they had to do a count and everything, but
The
if they would
bus
have
is
known.
left behind on the bus?
No,
No,
at
left
Jack Lake,
at
the
Jack
bus
Lake.
left.
Ah, I got you.
Yeah, the bus left.
Because the new buses now, before you can shut them off, you have to go push a button in the back of the bus. That's your child safety check.
Okay,
All buses are required to have those now.
yeah, no, she was left up there.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know last fall they were still trying to fill their staff with bus drivers.
Yeah, I bet.
So I
Some
don't
of the
know what
buses
kind of
have-
onboarding they did with some of the people.
I don't know, the transportation company is full. We are short 26 drivers right now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
so,
then all of a sudden your buses are at 75 kids and those seating charts aren't gonna look real pretty. They're just
So-
like, get them on and get them off as soon as you can.
what further do you have on the handbooks? Because we're
That's it.
on 5:40. We got a couple things to cover yet. And then, Tom, did you want to share anything about the elementary piece? And then, is east and west the same as this one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we sat down, made sure we had the same language. We highlighted the dress code area. We put more into, based on your requests, and I think the process that's followed on bus behavior, what those expectations are, linked in the same expectation document that's in the middle school and high school. And then we just had some things that are kind of unique to the elementary, our dismissal routine, so that's defined in there.
Tom, I know the city had a meeting about making the street in front of North Elementary one way, and I don't know the outcome. Do you know the outcome of that?
I don't.
Okay.
I know Donna's been asking for that.
Yes.
Just send it.
Yeah, because I know Terry Brand reached out to me, I think last month they had one of their committee meetings. I'll see if I can find some information as to where they are with that.
Okay.
I don't really have any questions on this one. I don't really have anything on this one.
On the elementary piece, okay.
I do want to,
I do want to commend the principals for the elementary, the dismissal procedure, because
Yeah, I seen that.
I've been driving around, and you guys have really sharpened that up to make it a lot more efficient and safe, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So, thank you for doing that.
Do they actually call the child by the order of the car?
Yeah.
Like one at a time, like one or two at a
Yeah.
time?
We almost know everybody's car.
Yeah, that's so
We could
crazy.
look down the
being-
line, hey, that's your car. But
Yeah,
yeah,
'cause
it's
before
nice
we
at
used
East
to-
because they actually pull off at 7th and they have to go around
Right.
the back of the building, so
Yeah.
it's, they pull up, they line up, the kids load, so, but even summer school, for kids that they're unfamiliar with our school, some kids are homeschoolers, and they figured it out.
It's a great way to do it. I remember picking up my kids and it was just, the doors open and it was a free-for-all. You gotta watch out.
I have one question
Okay.
before we move on from the handbooks, and I apologize, I forgot.
No,
In the-
that's okay.
In the high school
Yep.
handbook, where it talks about tobacco,
Oh,
Oh, the vaping.
now let me see if I can find it quick. Oh, okay, page 32.
Page what?
32.
It doesn't call out vapes or the vape juice. It just says tobacco or tobacco-related, such as electronic cigarettes.
Or tobacco products, or tobacco-related items.
Any tobacco nicotine product.
Okay, what if it's not that? Maybe it's THC that's in the juice.
So THC is covered, different section.
So there's a schoolwork policy that just outlines the tobacco.
Yeah, even look alike.
Oh, I see it. It's on
Used to see
page
like
30.
look-alike
Okay.
names.
All right. So then with the tobacco, nicotine, what happens if the fines aren't paid? Because it's first, second, third, fourth offense?
That's up to the city.
Okay, so,
It's through the city, not through the school.
okay. All right. Okay.
The other thing I wanted to point out, Angie, that you say tobacco and nicotine, on page 37, under student searches, we have that highlighted in there. A student's failure to permit searches and seizures, including metal detecting wand search, will be referred to the board for expulsion.
okay.
We put that in there because we had two, never before have I ever had students refuse, but this year we've had two.
Right.
And one was multiple. And I wanted to squash that immediately, because otherwise that's a,
Well, yeah,
That's
that's
a
just gonna,
safety issue.
yeah.
Is that legal?
I don't think so, and Clint knows that. I don't think, because that's their constitutional right to refuse a search. Now, if we suspected, or the police liaison expected, a weapon, that can be hands-on and you don't have a choice. I expect that will be contested. And I don't believe we would win.
So how does the committee then feel about that sentence?
I say leave it in there.
Yeah, I say leave it in there too, and if it gets struck down, well, it
Right.
gets struck down, but.
Because like you said, we need to stop some of this stuff now before it gets even worse. And it's already bad. So,
And wouldn't you have the ability to say you had reasonable suspicion
yep,
You
that,
say it.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's
And
the
they
reason
still
why
don't
you can
have to.
search.
they still said no.
one we did bring to you, and,
They didn't show up.
yeah, but the
It's the first time I ever had that happen.
Officer Schilling, the question was, how can a student refuse even a police officer?
right?
And they can.
Well, at that point,
I hate,
Officer Schilling could legally have
Take-
physically searched him. He said he's not going to do that because he's not going to walk down that road of, creating physical struggle, and that's not going to bode well for either party. But we had empty alcohol containers found in that student's locker at that point. And I agree with Officer Schilling. I don't think it was worth the whole,
Blew up that would have caused?
Yeah.
but I do say leave the sentence in there.
Yeah. And then my last thing is, Julie, where can parents find this easily and quickly on our website? Because we know where it's at, but you have to go through click, 10 different clicks to get there. Can it be on the front page?
The student handbook should be on every school's page.
Okay, first page, homepage. Okay,
Or it might say for students and families. Typically, there are headings, so
Okay.
they would look there first and then
okay. So Heather, there was some areas in yours that the links, it wasn't linked to the policies. It said the policy, but it wasn't linked, so if it's online, could you link the policy?
Somebody's gonna have to clean all this stuff up to make sure that it works.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't think we have
Yeah.
every single
No, we
policy
don't.
linked to
Those
board docs.
policies were put in, like, everybody had a different piece of the pie to help out with it.
Okay.
And
We can
our,
also refer people to the district website, because all the policies are there.
and I mentioned this before, but our handbook, or the physical copy, the planner that they get, there's a QR code in there. And when you put that in, it takes you to the student's one, and then you have to click on student handbook. But it's,
Yeah.
Okay,
the QR code takes you there, and you click on student handbook, and that's it.
okay.
It's there.
Is there directions on how to do that for people that don't know?
We have our
QR.
QR codes right here,
Okay,
and then the website would have it right on there.
okay. Not everybody knows how to use those.
But
Not everybody knows how to use those.
not everybody knows how to use hardly anything.
Yeah.
So,
So, okay. I'm done. That's great.
yes, you could.
It's okay, anything else? Danny, anything? Okay, so item.
Good job, good job.
Okay, so, a couple questions. Are we talking about this stay survey today, tonight? Or why was this shared? I mean, I like that it was shared, but
Yeah,
on the
don't
agenda.
Okay.
have to, especially with the time
Right,
limit.
right.
I just wanted
I
to
didn't know if
have
that
with
fell
the-
under something that we
Yeah.
have on the agenda or no,
Yeah.
but yeah, we can talk
And I
about
should
that.
clarify too, what happens now with these? What do you want to see with the student handbooks?
Would that also go to the full board, just like the employee handbook? I would agree with
So-
that.
Yeah.
Showing all the changes and then.
Right. Just
and
like
then
the
red
employee
and-
one?
Yeah, keeping the strikeouts and
Does that
stuff.
make
Well,
sense?
you're gonna have to.
I want to move on to item C, co-curricular and club information. What do you got?
Yes, so in the employee handbook, in the appendixes, there is pay scales for co-curricular and advisors. Note, I will be removing that one as we've revamped it to be a lot more streamlined. Tom Schofield did most of the legwork in connection to athletics. Now I have taken the role of analyzing the clubs. Since COVID and coming back to school, things have changed quite considerably. And so I want to know what clubs are out there, how many students are in them, how active they are. And by active, they are given a time slot to meet during the day if they want, so that way we can be more inclusive and provide the opportunity for more students to be part of the clubs. But only some clubs can meet during the day, not all. And so the ones that are meeting outside of school time and doing trips and overnight trips or competitions, I want to make sure that the advisors are being, stipend appropriately. And right now, it's all over the board. So I want to clean that up. So I'm in the process of gaining the information from the advisors to
Right.
be able to place them on the scale accordingly.
So where is that?
It's in the appendixes at the
29.
very end. Yeah.
Page 29.
Okay, so then with that exception, with this handbook going to the full board, that would have to,
I would bring that back
Okay.
at a different time, but I want to take that out because I don't want you to approve it and then, people think that that's going to be the case. I want to take that out and put like a disclaimer that a new thing will be presented, I'm hoping in August. So that way when I provide a contract for those advisors, that it's up to date.
Are you on page 29?
yeah, but I'm in the high school book.
Oh,
I'm like, what am I looking at? Okay,
Right
I
ball
get
field,
it.
wrong
Yeah.
side.
I get it. Okay, so we'll remove that.
Yep, if you're okay with that, I plan on removing it and putting in a disclaimer that, you know, a new appendix will be provided at a, you know, future board meeting to be approved. Now, with that, like I said, I have a survey out asking those questions of those advisors. Tom did all the athletics, so now we're just working on the clubs, and we should have it to you. So,
Okay.
any
I'm good with
questions
that.
or concerns about that?
No.
Also,
No, I think that needs looking
we
at.
are also, this is more for your information with the clubs, we're streamlining things. We currently have 2 separate processes on how clubs versus just general expense in the school district gets paid. And the club one has many more steps, and it's a whole different process. And it caused some hiccups last year in audit. I'm wiping it out. We're going one consistent process, so that way every advisor knows it, can repeat it, and it's going to be the same across the board. If you guys would like more information about that, feel free to reach out, and I'll definitely can walk you through, but it's consistent. It's the process that we've always followed for general spending, and I feel that it'll be best as well for clubs to kind of keep tabs on things, so.
So is there detail to budget information for clubs and,
We created it for this year's purpose of turning it over, so every month they will get a revenue statement and an expense statement with everything outlined, so they can be checking on that.
so they know what they have?
Exactly, and they'll know monthly.
Awesome,
Okay.
good job.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
Can I speak to item A real quick? I have a concern that I was researching.
Oh, the employee handbook?
Yes.
Yeah.
In regards to the 504, we do have to state that an employee can come to us and request accommodation. We will remove the student portion, but the very last one sentence, we do have to keep in there.
In
So,
the-
in the handbook.
Okay.
For the fact of, like, let's say something occurred to me and I needed to request a accommodation, it has to be stated in there that I can do that. So,
An accommodation for a student.
no.
No, for even
For
you.
me,
And it's called the 504?
it's called the
in
504,
workplace.
yes.
Okay.
So, an example, year and a half ago, I went permanently blind in my right eye and couldn't see out of my left. I had to ask for an accommodation for a Reen screeder for about 2 months until I could see again. And so that was a 504 for me as an employee
Okay.
at a company. So we will have a little
Look at
blurb.
that language
But
again,
yep,
yeah.
we will leave a
Thank
portion
you.
of it, but, all right.
And we can cover the exit interviews. There isn't a whole lot on the next agenda. So.
You mean cover it on the next
No,
agenda?
cover it now because it's 5:57, so.
Okay.
3 minutes.
Okay, so item D, exit interviews. The concern there, and the reason that I asked for that to be on the policy and personnel meeting was because I was interested in knowing what we were spending for this third party and that how effective that firm is for us and how we can look at retention and really be more efficient as far as retention and just the whole process. And I am not positive that I would agree with the cost of a third party doing that and not either a superintendent or a human resources department
Or the school board.
or the board. So can you explain that process a little bit of the whole exit interview? I know you did that
Yeah,
for discussion at the meeting.
So the board chose to go with David Hammelman. I think he used to be associated with the Rural Schools Alliance and then formed his own company for this purpose. So we shared with you in an email what we have been paying him since the start of the 2019-20 school year. So what he does is he contacts each retiree or resignee and offers an exit interview. I think it's $35 if it's completed. Not everyone takes him up on that offer, so it's really the employee's choice, as it would be, I assume, with any vendor. And so then he sends those to me. And in the past, the board has asked that I put together like trend data. Were there any related to commuting to work, for example, any related to salary? So I did that. I just checked with Melanie since it was on the agenda. So as of Friday, I think a week ago Friday, he has an updated list of everyone who has left our district, but he has not turned in any of those results to me yet.
What kind of questions does he ask?
I shared those, actually, I think it was with you, Danny, and maybe Jill, or somebody had asked. I'm dissatisfied with the questions because who leaves and is, has only great things to say. So, yeah, I would have to find them again, Angie. I can do that and send them to you though,
Okay.
so you see them.
Can we modify that and have him ask the questions that we would like asked?
I can ask him.
Okay.
That's a good point. I don't know if, how married he is to the questions that he asks. I don't know if that would be a deal breaker or not, but we can find out.
Okay.
Yeah, that should be up to board discretion,
Yeah.
what kind of questions he asks.
I'm just wondering how effective an exit interview is with a
Third party?
third party. Is that typical practice in a district, do you think?
I wouldn't say typical, but it is an option. We also discussed about making sure if the board wants to see the results, making sure the employee knows that they're not confidential.
Like a release
That
of
they- right.
information or something?
And so that would be an option too.
I don't want to bring this to a stop because it is 6:02.
I know, so I was just
We can
gonna
put
say
this
to
to the
you,
next
can
month.
we, I'd like to just welcome some more board discussion on exit
Sure.
interviews in general.
Put
We
it
can do that.
on next time.
We want a next month's committee to discuss this farther?
I would say yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I can agree to that. And so with that, do I need a motion to adjourn in the committee level?
You can.
Okay, so then I would be looking for a motion to adjourn. 6:02. Thank you.
I'll call the meeting to order. We'll stand for pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mary Kay, roll call.
Dr. Dave Bartle,
Present.
Andy Mary,
Yeah.
Angie Schreiber,
Here.
Katie Anna Stringa,
Here.
Dr. Julie Sprague,
Here.
Danny Pyatt,
I believe you went to the restroom. I'm here.
oh, sorry.
Any public comments? None? Okay, we'll move on to new business, Aruba software purchase request. Well, I'll tell you what, it caught my eye, I'll say that.
What's that?
Aruba.
Yeah, I know, Mary Kay sent me an email that I was going to Aruba.
I needed an assistant.
Not yet. Thanks for meeting with me tonight. This software is a package that makes our hardware do the work for us instead of us, instead of paying somebody manually to watch in the secure part of our networks. It uses AI to watch somebody trying to hack in from the outside, somebody inside trying to hack into the spots that they're not supposed to. When a device gets connected to our network, whether it's wired or wireless, if it's a guest, it goes only to the guest network. If it's one of our certified machines,
then it gets placed where it needs to be. Like Chromebooks go to our MDM network, the Mobile Device Management Network. The laptops that we use will go to the secure network like they're supposed to be. So as soon as it gets plugged in, it's the switches and everything that's going to take care of it. That's a piece of software. Instead of us having to set up the machines and know where they're going and everything, it's another step. But it's also an extremely secure piece of software that it really helps protect it from anything inside and outside to get into the areas that they're not supposed to be. So it's an extremely expensive piece of software, as you can see. But like I said, it does a lot of the stuff, the work and everything that we're trying to do to keep up with without sitting there manually every day looking at security. Just we physically don't have the manpower to do it on a regular basis.
So this is basically new software. Okay.
Mark, can you explain how many years this is for and then after what it looks like?
This is all set up for a year, and then it's like a $1,700 yearly fee to help maintain it. You actually get an appliance, a box that goes in the file server that handles the software, and then you just pay a maintaining fee for every year after that.
Okay.
So if a student has a Chromebook and they take that Chromebook home and they're, I don't know, on some gaming site that has,
Yeah, that's a
virus.
different piece of software.
Okay, that's not
While
this.
it's here.
okay,
right.
it's just
Yep.
when it's here.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So is this a Fund 10 purchase or this
Actually, I'll use my own budget for this because I have another year of ESSER to pay for the Chromebooks, teachers' laptops for the following year. So this will actually come out of my own budget in place of.
I was hoping you'd say that.
Yes.
Okay. Any further questions from the group? Okay, let's bring it to the board meeting on next Monday.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Good night.
B, unaudited budget overview, Fund 10 to Fund 46 transfer. Katie.
So this is probably the funnest month of the year. It's July, so we're wrapping up last year and we're kicking off the new year of our budget. So with that being said, your overview is a year, but it's unaudited. So what that means is we did a final accounts payable run today that was pushed back if the bills were dated for June, and anything that came in off of the P cards that happened in June as well was pushed back. So until this evening, I wouldn't have had all of that in this budget overview. As you can see, the operational transfer for Fund 27, or the MOE, the maintenance of effort for that, has not been done either. That is accounted for in the first column called budget in the very top row for revenues and the second to bottom row in expenses. That'll be done by the end of this month as well. And then if you look at the numbers that are in there right now, our revenues look lower than our expenses in our fiscal year to date. We are expecting over 1.5 million in grants revenues to be booked, and those will be booked this week. So that'll be added to the revenue amount up there of the 29,928,000. And then our expenses, I am expecting maybe another 20,000 to hit expenses. So what does all those numbers mean? It means that what I am expecting is a Fund 10 to Fund 46 transfer, but without those numbers being in and approved, I cannot grab that exact amount. But I can give you a rough estimate of what I'm expecting. I'm expecting about at least 300,000 of a Fund 10 to a Fund 46 transfer this year. So that's an estimate for an expectation. It's probably going to be higher of the potential 400,000, but 300 is a safe estimate. Any questions in regards to the Fund 46 amount?
Are you trying to keep fund balance basically where it's at?
Equal. Keep it the same.
That's what we want.
The only thing that might affect that a little bit, and it has for the last 2 years, is AGR, so our AGR grant and our common school funds are paid to us in advance. They front load those. And we have not spent those down the last few years. So we are carrying almost $500,000 in AGR funds over this year and about 68,000 of common school funds. And so those we do have to keep a balance of unspent dollars.
Correct. Yeah.
Or say that we spent fund balance. So I'm keeping it as an open amount.
Okay.
And those will roll over to next year.
All righty. Looks good, Katie.
Thank you. With that being said, I do have to ask that you guys will put on the agenda for July, for next Monday, a Fund 10 to Fund 46 transfer that'll be brought forward. It'll be a more exact number, but that's the one thing out of here that I will need to have on the agenda. Mary Kay, do you recall if the Fund 27 transfer is on the agenda, or is that because it's internal
Is on the,
for approval?
for approval?
Because I think we might need that on there too.
I don't have it now. I can look.
Yep, perfect, thank you.
So if it needs to be put on, and if in the past it was just an automatic within district transfer, then we don't have to, so,
Okay.
yeah. Okay.
All right. Move on to C. Okay.
Final, yeah, I guess I have to say that, don't I? Let's move on to C, final budget amendment for fiscal year 22-23.
I'm not expecting many adjustments. We just did one in February, but I do have to do a audited final adjustment. Now, I'm not going to have that next Monday because our final audit isn't until the end of July. So normally it hits in there. But I will be bringing what we're expected to have as close to possible next Monday. And so then we can take a look at it. Any minor adjustments, the auditors said wouldn't need to, that it would be non-material. So I am going to try and have a finalized one that I bring you next Monday. But I wanted to make sure all bills were in until I adjust numbers, displaying otherwise. So I asked that get moved on to the board for approval as well. D, I'll let you.
Hey, if you want to just keep going, I'm okay. The administration increases.
You guys all received an email from me. I just want to have you guys aware that that'll be, or is slated to be a closed session on July, next Monday. If you have any questions, concerns, want more information, please reach out. Otherwise, what I presented or sent to you guys via email, we can talk about that, as well as then in-depth details of where staff is at in that. So, any questions?
I'd like to meet with you on Friday.
Okay.
Or Thursday, depending on what's best for your schedule, because if you're off on Friday, I would understand.
Nope, I'm here both, so whatever works out best for you.
Friday would be better. I have a medical appointment. Basically, the information I would want would be years of service in the district at the position for all administration. That's the big thing. Their current salaries. And I think that's all we would need, and then you and I can have a discussion. based on what we talked about the last time about the amount.
Perfect.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have a timer?
Well, as I just told someone in the back that, don't call me till after 9 o'clock tomorrow. 10 or 11's best.
Good.
Have to have some coffee. So let's go at 10.
Perfect.
Okay.
If I want to ask what this is, right here?
From
Um,
the email?
Yeah.
You absolutely can. Yeah, that's
Okay.
all, none of that is specific to any,
Okay.
that's just general ranges in that. Yep.
Okay, so under the WIAA Northern Conference, right, ranges and averages, we have Boys and Girls Club. What is that? Well, I'm assuming B and G.
Buildings and grounds.
Oh, okay. I was
There you
thinking-
go. I'm like, I must.
That's
have
what I
had a
was like,
good day. I don't have a clue.
Okay,
Buildings and
Yeah.
grounds.
yeah, I know. I'm so used to seeing B and G, there's Boys and Girls Club.
That's a great question.
Yeah.
I do a lot of acronyms, so.
Sorry, my bad.
Nope.
All right, we'll move on. I'm sorry, go ahead, Andy.
In your email, special circumstances of unpaid or unpaid, just what does it mean when it says was in benefits term letter? What does that mean?
So that was prior to my time, but it was in their term letter that was presented from the school when they resigned or retired. And so everyone gets a letter that resigns or retires that outlines their, what they'd be paid out, what, if they owed anything, what they owed, liquidated damages or any costs. And so in that term letter, the best that Dr. Sprague and I could come up with is looking at that time frame. That would have been Tim time. It was when we were looking for natural attrition due to consolidations. And so we had teachers that had maybe signed an agreement and then said, no, I'll retire. And then we did not assess any damages because it was more of a what would be mutual.
Yeah, we're not sure because it was before my time as well, but a lot of them were around consolidation time. And when Tim was here, he handled those, so, I could check if the board would like to see what his recollection is, but.
So when you started, is that when we consolidated?
I was here a year, the plan was in place, and we just had to execute. So I started in 18, and then in 1920, the rurals were closed
Okay.
after 1 year.
Okay, and let me just check here. I thought I had another question here. But I guess not.
Okay. Well, give a jingle.
Okay. Okay.
Any other questions?
No, it's interesting though.
E, staff substitute pay rates.
All right, so I would like to present, we have a staff substitute pay rate that we've always provided. We have really struggled getting food service substitutes in for $10 an hour for 4 hours a day. So we would like to increase that to $12. That is still under the starting wage for all food service staff, so I find it reasonable. Because then if they do take a long-term place, they bump to that bottom rate pay. But $12, I think, is a reasonable ask, so I'd like to ask for that increase. And then our teacher substitute rates, I'd like to take a look at. Right now, we have a scale that substitute teachers will start at $120 a day for the first 25 days. Then they bump to $130 between days 26 and 50, and then they get $140 at day 51. I really feel that the time and effort that is put in by our substitutes is worth the $140 a day, but also the time and effort clerically that we're putting in to track these days of how many days each substitute works on our Google spreadsheet is also time consuming for our admin assistants that are doing substitute placement as well as our payroll. And so I would like to knock out the tiered system and go to $140 a day for any substitute that works a full day. Long-term pay would be bumped to $190, and then a half day would be $70, half of the regular
$140.
short-term pay.
What is long-term pay right now?
$175.
And what's the starting wage for food service and
Well,
support staff substitute stuff?
That's what she said.
so for our,
This was 10.
so server dishwasher, which is our lunch or our, and the lowest is $12.44 an hour. And then what other position are you looking for?
No, I guess that's probably the lowest one, right?
It is, you were correct.
That's a server?
A server dishwasher, yep.
Okay. My thought was that if you're coming in for 4 hours, you should get a $50 bill, which should be $12.50. Should be more than what the lowest rate is.
Which is, can't do that.
Yeah, and that's what I had to kind of keep in mind as to where the pay was at. But
Okay.
Do we have problems filling those positions, I'm assuming?
yes. Well, we have a lot of long tenured in that area, but when we need substitutes or when we have someone that's out, for medical reasons, it is tough to get someone in that wants to do it. So a lot of times we're shuffling our staff and then trying to find people for a different position, our food service staff. So it's kind of twofold. It works because then they're cross-trained and can shift into a different position when they're ready, but ultimately it's one of those tough jobs, just like custodian, housekeeper, that it's tough to fill and tough to keep.
Well, at that rate of pay, yeah.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay.
So let's go to the full board then?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. Basically, everything at some point on this agenda will be there. So, any further questions? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
It has been moved to adjourn, and
Good job, Katie.
it is adjourned.
And that will call this meeting to order, 7:31. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Mary Kay, can you take roll call, please?
Angie Schreiber,
Here.
Catherine Solon,
Here.
Andy Marion,
Here.
Jake Leiterman,
Here.
Dr. Julie Sprague,
Here.
Danny Pyatt.
Here.
Do we have any public comment? Okay. Moving along to new business, we'll start with summer projects update. Whatever.
Maybe we should just move to item B while he's working on it.
Okay. All right, we'll come back to that. So we're going to go to update on facilities task force. Julie, do you have anything that you want to update with how Lori Mueller's efforts are coming along?
Don't, other than we have the second community engagement meeting on July 27th here. Really a repeat of the first, just hoping to get more people in and hearing from them.
Okay. What exactly in your opinion, are we looking for the community to come in and to talk about the schools, to talk about?
Yeah, the same questions that she had last time. We want their perceptions and to hear directly from them. And then hopefully, like I know Deacon Washako was very articulate at the last one and expressed interest in being on the task force. So those who can hear and see what it is we're looking for then might commit
Okay.
to being on the task force as well.
Okay. Can you send me the questions that she asked?
Let me see if I can find those slides.
Hey, there he is. At least the screen. Okay. That's all right. Good job, Jake.
Mary Kay, I think last time we had six
Not my strong suit.
people that were signed up, is that right?
About that, 6 to 8. I don't know exactly off the top of my head who they were.
Okay. But have we received anybody new?
No.
Okay. And then Jake had mentioned that a good idea of having a session where we talk about the, everything that was said during the listening sessions, either with the full board. Were you looking at, were you thinking the public too, or?
An example that we heard a lot is there's no hot water in the building, right? Well, I understand why that comment is being said, but I don't think that the board understands the full picture to that, and I think it'd be valuable for them to understand that. Like with hot water, just like at your home, when you turn the faucet on, it's not gonna be hot right away. It needs time to get there, and the design of our buildings, it's a lot slower. So there's options we can do, and then there's options that we can't do. And just to talk through and explain so that the board understands what all those comments truly meant, I think would be valuable, so that they're not misrepresented as we go through the task force. That was my thought, but
In a new building, do they put in another line so your hot water circulates?
yeah, they do like a 3-pipe system with a certain pump off the thermostat.
And do we have all the layouts of the schools? I know that was something that was brought up a while back. Okay.
Those,
I believe I have two.
I can recite, those, well, the 3 elementaries are done.
Yeah.
And when we talked about the other 2 buildings at that time, the committee had felt like it wasn't worth the time and effort and
Okay.
just to develop those now. If later they're really critical, they're where we need them, we can do that, but
Okay. Yeah, I just have the one.
okay. I can get the other 3. I have all 3 of them. That West probably, that was the first one. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I'll get the other 2 sent out to them.
Okay.
You want that to the whole board or
Yeah,
just the
sure.
committee?
After the first listening session, I don't know if it was Lori, just developed a whole list of comments that the staff had made, but I didn't see that for the other 4.
They're all
staff.
on the same one, on the same doc. It was just added to.
Okay.
Staff you're talking about, Andy?
Yes, yep.
Would you like me to resend those?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Do we know when we're going to be looking, I know we're having the community engagement session July 27th, but when the actual task force is going to be meeting?
Sorry.
Yes, all of those dates went out.
Maybe I missed that email. It was a while
She
ago.
gave those dates at the
was,
last
yep.
meeting,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It's out there.
I can find it, Julie, it's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Any other thoughts, updates, anything like that?
Clinton just texted, he said about 10 minutes, hopefully, he'll be on.
Okay. All right.
Here's the dates.
Okay. So August 8th would be the first one. Okay. Okay, so we'll come back to this once Clint gets on the call. Let's go back to item A, summer projects update.
Yeah, working through, just the typical summer maintenance type things. Big projects were really kind of limited this year due to where we are financially, so, the walk-in cooler and freezer, those are going. We're about a week behind what I want to be, but we still have plenty of cushion in the schedule that we should be okay. But just took longer for the installers to get here, that other stuff that delayed them and whatnot, so. That is going good. The greenhouse, they have all the panels in their or in their shop. They're ready to come up in the next week or two, and they will be done by the end of July with the replacement of the panels. The electrical, we're all doing in-house on that. That control, all the controls for that are already mounted. They need to be wired yet, but we can't do that until the equipment's in place, so. It'll be certainly into the later part of August before we, get really substantially completed on that, but, we had a meeting with Mike and Shalyn and Katie today at Clint, about where we're at, and everybody feels good, so.
Okay.
On track there. I think that's it for big projects.
Okay.
So, middle school windows, we're getting all the, fixed in place stuff moved, any electrical outlets or data stuff that was installed in a window opening over the years, we're getting those moved so that when we finally get moving on that, all the window openings are clear from any obstruction form, so. We're definitely staying busy with smaller projects this summer as far as, little facelift type things here and there, but I think what wraps it up for big projects, there's not a whole lot this year, so.
Did I see that the drain out front was being addressed? The storm sewer drain? Or,
We redid the one in the front,
Yeah,
the concrete walkway,
okay,
and then we did the one over by the Clack Center. We had to do both of those this year.
okay.
So now knocking down walls and rebuilding offices?
We're knocking a few walls down in the middle school in preparation for the windows, but nothing crazy. There's a wall that was furred out with electrical and plumbing hookups for the old family consumer ed room there. That just, they're not needed anymore, but all that stuff was left behind the wall. But those walls were covering window openings, so I wanted to get those opened up.
So in essence, we're gonna have one big classroom versus?
No,
two?
they're just, on the outside wall, they built another wall inset.
Oh,
So that they created a chase for the
Sure.
utility hookups for
Okay.
family consumer years
Okay.
ago. So we just removed those.
okay, gotcha, now I'm following you.
Yeah.
I was thinking wall between,
No,
Okay.
none of that this year.
okay. Okay. Anything done to any of the classrooms? Any whiteboards getting replaced or anything like that?
Oh, that's a constant, yeah.
That's constant, okay.
Whatever requests the teachers have over the years, the staff kind of pool is summer work, when they do a checkout, primarily at the high school. I know they have a really good system for when they check out at the end of the year, they have any work order requests that they put in, and we get that all the time, but
Okay,
sometimes my staff will be able to handle it during the school year, sometimes they wait till summer if it's appropriate or,
okay,
so, yeah.
all right. Okay.
Always stuff like that.
Anybody else have any questions or?
No.
Okay. I heard something. Is he on yet? or-
Clint, can you hear us? I don't know if this microphone is stuff.
While Jake is checking that, Julie, thanks for sending those notes already. In your email, you'll have them. Can't find your microphone.
So then I can't find the video either.
What did you have up just a minute ago?
On here, but it finds speakers, but not the microphone.
Otherwise, we can, if you have them on there, we can just use that. We don't have to use the big screen.
Clint.
Can't turn your volume down.
Hey, you just left the meeting? Oh, okay. When you get on the meeting, my microphone won't work for some reason. So when you're on, can you be on your phone and on the meeting at the same time?
We just put them on speakerphone.
Let's just try being on speakerphone here. I don't know that, I think that works, so I'll put you on speakerphone. We have 4 board members, Julie, Mary Kay, and myself. All right. Go ahead, Clint.
Hi, good evening. How's everyone doing?
Good. Good.
Good. I guess where would you, Jake, where would you like me to start?
Yeah,
Or like,
so-
where are you guys in your discussion?
Yep. So I guess if we think back, can you hear okay, Clint?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
When we look back at where we started with this, we really focused on the elementaries first, right? And we went through that and basically determined that, we were going to build to a standard of today's learning, providing the best we can for the kids. So we took Clint's modeling ability and built what they would design for a building to house the number of students we do have at those buildings right now. And basically the results of that were, he came up with roughly around 60,000 square feet for our elementaries, each one. Each of our buildings right now is roughly 22 to 23,000 square feet, so drastically undersized. Now looking through the breakdown of those buildings, we identified that, maybe there's some places we could cut. And, even if we were generous and say we took 10,000 square feet off of that, which I don't think we could really get to, still we're half the size of a building that we should be for those kids. So, are we all good with that, or?
Is that to say if we were to build a new building, we'd
That-
need 180,000?
To build 3 buildings to house the number of kids that our 3 buildings do, we would need 60,000 square feet at each location.
But what if we built one?
That completely changes that whole equation in his spreadsheet on how you build that out because of programming efficiencies. You only have to have 1 gym, 1 cafeteria, things like that. Now we have 3 buildings. We have all those spaces in all 3 buildings, or we should. So that's where you hear, when you consolidate into a 1 building setting, multiple track setting, that's where you find efficiencies and can make the building smaller because you don't have to provide that space as many times.
Okay, but we're not talking about that number at this time.
No, we just wanted to look at it as, you know, we're trying to find out if the buildings that we have are sufficient for what we're using them for. And I think that that's pretty evident that those 3 elementaries are not, right? I mean, they're being generous, they're half the size they should be. So,
Okay, so how does declining enrollment come into play? Did we ever get those numbers? Lori Mueller was gonna read you the projection that Tim had done years ago.
Well, they're updated through birth rates
But
each
she
year.
did get those.
She did? I did not.
so
I
yeah,
saw-
can,
I saw it someplace.
can we kind of cover that after? I mean,
Yeah.
can we get Clint going on
Yep.
the high school, middle school?
Yep.
We can have more discussion on that. So then what I asked, or what we had discussed and I forwarded on to task Clint with was looking at our our middle school and our high school settings kind of in the same theory. If you were to take the students that we currently house in there and design a building to today's standards, how would that calculate out? And that's what he's going to kind of go through here and tell us where that came out now. Likewise with the elementaries, I mean, there's probably, you know, discussion points of how we really use certain areas or how we could find some efficiencies. But, I mean, we're gonna change it by a couple percent, probably, not 10, 20, 30% difference. So this is a really good place to at least start to understand if we're utilizing our buildings to the best of our abilities for education and the space we have, so. Clint, with that, do you want to go ahead and kind of go through?
Sure.
I don't care which building you start with.
Sure. Yeah, so again, kind of taking that same model and saying, okay, if we were to build a new middle school, and I apologize, I'm in my car right now, so I'm doing this a little bit by memory, but basically the gist of it is at the middle school, if that building's, you know, it works out to be it's a little bit bigger than what we would need for the programming for those spaces. And I think you see that when you go in that building. There's you know, a lot of spaces for you know, kind of the old gymnasium areas, more set up kind of in the model of a high school gym, not necessarily a middle school gym. There's a lot of space there. When you look in the classroom spaces, again, not to say that they're poorly utilized, but I think it's kind of been a situation where some of the teachers have had their elbows out and you know, if there's space available, they're taking advantage of it, and I'm sure it's great for them and the students, but you know, maybe a full-size classroom that's being used maybe just a handful of periods of the day and definitely not by a full classroom, you know, maybe isn't best utilization of some of those spaces. Again, they probably love it, and the kids, I'm sure, love the space, but there's certainly efficiencies that are sort of lost there. So, you know, I'd say the moral of the story is that the middle school, you know, it's a bit bigger than what we would need or what we would plan for a new building. Now, does that automatically mean we could throw another grade level in that building and call it good? You know, I would think that would be something we would have to explore. The challenge always with adding grade levels is you start to tax, you know, your cafeteria space, your art, your music, the amount of gym space you have for gym classes. So, and then just obviously the number of spaces you need for the classrooms. So I don't think that's necessarily at the point where we can just throw another grade level in there and call it good. Again, going by the standards of trying what we would build for a new building, but there's definitely that building is bigger than what we would plan. The high school on the other side, again, you know, adding the 8th grade into that building, as we looked at programming that out for what a new building would be, we would actually plan for just a little bit bigger than what that current space is. Again, I think part of that is some of the flexible and collaboration type space that we would plan for within an existing school. But even, I would even say like spaces like the auditorium and stuff, as I looked at programming it, I didn't really make that bigger. I think when talking to Jake and some of the other admin team, the thought was that the size of that auditorium seems to work well. So, so again, the high school, I think with the 8-12 configuration is a bit undersized based on how we would plan for that in a new facility. So I went through that very briefly. I went through that extremely high level. But that's kind of I'll say that kind of the Cliff Notes version of kind of where we arrived after we went through the exercises Jake kind of laid out.
Have we considered adding on to the middle school?
That's certainly a possibility. We didn't really explore so much how to solve for that necessarily. I guess as you would describe adding on, would it be to get another grade level in there, or what would be the goal for the addition?
I would say that we would be looking at an elementary addition. It might be it might be like 2-3 floors, but.
Yeah, I mean, I would argue that site would probably be really taxed. Again, if you kind of want to, hypotheticals, yes, we've done middle schools on very small sites. We've done elementary on very small sites, I think very successfully. But again, as you kind of look at, in an ideal scenario, most of the time in elementary school, you want 10 to 15 acres. Again, we've done an elementary school on 3 acres. I think some of your current sites are probably about that size-ish. I would think putting that many students, though, if you're going to put all the elementary school students and all the middle school students on that middle school site, that would be a lot. I mean, I think your parking and your parent drop-off and your available playground space is pretty limited, I think, as a middle school, and adding the elementary school there, that would be tough. I mean, I'd love the opportunity of the challenge of it, but I think that would be a very tight site.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, Clint's ability to start playing with some numbers, if we get to a point where we're thinking referendum and want to start discussing that and making some plans, he can help us through some of those scenarios. Like the last time we went through a referendum, Andy refreshment, I think we had 30 some options to start with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he has ability to really start playing with that, but that's really when we start looking at referendum world, right?
Right.
So, yeah, that I was trying to think of how to answer your question. Yes, we have thought about it. No, we haven't really put the hard numbers and time and effort into designing that at this point.
I think to the earlier question, again, going from memory, if we were to combine all of the elementaries, you'd probably be somewhere between a 6 and a 7 track, right? Is that correct?
Yes.
So I mean, if I just off the top of my head, if I had to say a 6 or 7 track is probably somewhere around 130,000 square feet ish. So I think the efficiency question of 360,000 square foot two track buildings versus one 6 or 7 ish track. To Jake's point, you're definitely going to see some economy of scale and some reduction, I'd say pretty fairly significant reduction in overall square footage needs there. Not to mention just from a staffing and operations perspective, that would be a far more efficient model because you'd have likely one principal, maybe an assistant principal at a building that size, and most of your specials and encore type staff, would probably be full-time in that case versus traveling or part-time at each of the buildings.
So I think that at least gives us a good understanding that, you know, maybe we're okay with 8th grade maybe here, but we really shouldn't be looking at putting another grade in this building. You know, likewise with the middle school, at first look at the numbers, it does not seem like we should be adding an additional grade to that building either. So, I think that kind of at least gives us a very good start-off point, right? To think about how we could find solutions to house the kids, knowing that these two bigger buildings are not able to take more, right? So,
Okay.
now when we went through a lot of this programming, you know, Clint joined us at Colt, and we went through with, you know, Heidi about special ed, Amy with regular ed, you know, all of Julie's expertise, and really tried to make it as realistic as we can, so it's not, you know, annoying to think that, wow, you know, maybe that's the national number, but what should it really be in Antigo? We kind of already took that step to try and make it as realistic to Antigo's, you know, the way we teach, the number of kids we have, things of that nature, and I don't want to get too much into that philosophy because I'm not a teacher by any means, but I just wanted you to know that it's not just a generic plug number from a national average.
Okay.
We did some additional discussion and work to make sure that we were as realistic as possible as we can be for Antigo.
Okay. All right. Does anybody else have anything, any input, any questions?
So I guess as far as, you know, with Clint's purpose of doing a capacity study, you know, without getting into referendum talk, is there anything at this point? I mean, we can always go back and talk with him more, but is there anything he should be working on or I should be working on as far as the capacity study goes at this point?
I think that's kind of going to come out of the task force once that group starts
Sure.
meeting. I don't want to give direction and then, you know, getting ahead of cart from the
You're right.
horse.
And we did want you to hear this info, you know, obviously before anyone else. So.
Yeah, okay.
Okay.
Right.
All right, Clint, I think for now, we are good. I appreciate you working back-to-back meetings tonight for us. With that, I'll let you go.
No problem.
Thank you.
Clint.
All right, thanks everyone, have a great night.
You too.
Okay, so I guess with that, I mean, is there any follow-up discussion?
Does Lori have all that information that he just gave, or will we give that to her?
She knows the general
Yeah,
recap.
because I think it's
You know, she
very
doesn't-
high level, like he said, it's good
Yep.
information.
She doesn't have like his building worksheets and
I
that,
see.
you know,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
won't even give me those.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like I said, that really starts crossing the line into
Exactly.
referendum work, you know? So, he has no problem showing and working with us and doing those things, but he's not going to give me a copy of that, for obvious reasons, I think, but yeah, Lori does know the overarching
Good.
view of that, and, yeah, I think it's about as in-depth as we really want to go with the task force, at least to start with, right?
Right. Yeah. Okay, moving on to item C, new tractor purchase update.
Well, wait a minute.
Oh,
I
sorry.
thought you were asking about population projections or enrollment projections.
I
Yeah.
sent them to everybody, it was in the budget book.
It's in the budget book, and, yeah, okay. So I know in the past, we have had the Applied Population Lab in Madison look at this, and just looking at their webpage here, it says the APL team has particular expertise in helping school districts plan for the future with enrollment projections. Our goal is to not only produce estimates and projection products, but to help our clients understand past and current trends and to prepare for changing demographic future. So anyway, I know we've done this before, they looked, and I think you get a more in-depth thing than what you get out of. Is the budget book just taking live births, and this is a projection Tim or Katie are making?
I believe so.
I don't think it's attached, Mary Kay, in the email you
Oh,
just
didn't I?
sent.
Oh, man, sorry.
I think it's good to
got
have
the
the,
impact of enrollment, there's 3 different slides. Let me send it on.
it would be good to have the best projections we can make.
Can you share with me what you just, that,
I think you can just type in the Applied Population Lab at UW-Madison.
okay, applied population lab.
I just typed in who does population studies in Wisconsin.
Are you looking it up, or are you?
I'm going to send it to you.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, I wasn't sure.
Thank you.
So what are you saying, Andy, that we should be looking at ordering
Well,
their services?
I'm just saying maybe we should contact them and talk to them about what they might do for us.
Okay.
Yeah, because I think to Andy's point, they'll be able to look at many data sources to find out, what our trend is really telling us and help us project a little better than maybe just live births.
I wonder if the regional planning office would be able to do that as well. Are you familiar with them, Andy?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Contact them both.
Yeah.
See what they do. See what they would do for us. Okay, I think I just sent you all the link for that.
Okay. So,
A quick snapshot, Angie, suggests that we'll be down, so between 23, 24, so this coming school year, is enrollment of 1,971.
1,971? Okay.
And then the 27, 28 school year is at 1,864.
Okay. Does it go out any further than that?
Not on this doc that I'm looking
Okay.
What was that second year?
at. 27, 28.
27, 28.
And those are projections, of course, but
Mhm.
Have we gotten any information on Mattoon for this fall?
I haven't had anything for open enrollments.
yeah, and that's where they'd have to register.
When do they normally start coming in for open enrollments? Is it
It's
next
year
month?
February.
round now.
Oh.
Yeah. They can
February
apply at
through-
any time.
Yeah, through April is the regular open enrollment. And then after July 1st is the alternative open enrollment.
So with no open enrollments coming in at this point, does that mean there's no students that are going there yet?
Did they get their license from DPI or certification, whatever they needed?
Unless.
Because I know they couldn't get it there for bid.
They could have homeschool students who, kids who were homeschooling, but now are
Right.
gonna go there.
Okay.
Yeah, because they didn't get a grant or something, and that was part of the requirements that they needed for DPI to certify them. So then it kind of threw everything up in the air. I don't know where it was after that. And I haven't heard anything,
Okay, I don't know.
so. Yes, I don't know. But that's gonna affect these numbers too. Okay. Any other questions or comments on?
Well, just on that, in the budget that's just passed, I know they increased money for voucher schools, but I don't recall seeing anything about how many kids they're going to allow voucher schools. I mean, there were limits, right?
I
And did
believe
they
so,
increase
but
that, or have you seen anything on that? Or?
not just just the overview I reread again today, but I don't recall anything specific there.
Okay.
Okay. If there's no other discussion, we'll move on to item C. The tractor purchase update.
Yep, the order's been placed. We are holding the check obviously until we get either delivery or notice that it's at least in production. Working on getting the VIN number. He's hoping to get that to me sometime this week,
And
possibly.
what was the final cost?
I have to look back at last month's board docs.
It was the bid that they gave us.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. And then we got the 6,000 for the trade-in?
Nope, not yet.
No.
Remember, we talked about.
Well, that's the projected
That
deal.
was what
Yeah.
they projected, obviously, depending on, if we smash it or something, until we actually physically turn it over to them, they're not gonna guarantee us that
Right.
dollar. But I would expect it to be, at least in line with the 6,000. But my
Okay.
thought is that we would post it on our auction website and see if we can get more for it.
Okay,
Put a reserve on for 6,000. If we get more, then we let her go, and if not, then we'll trade it off to our Easter.
okay,
Try to get every penny we can.
okay. All right. All right. And again, it's being paid for by the surplus fuel.
And I did talk to Katie about that, and if you need, when she gets the budget all balanced, I mean, she can give a full explanation exactly where that fuel, every penny of that fuel thing went, basically.
Okay.
But, I mean,
Yeah, like did that eat into the surplus fuel
Yeah.
for the coming year?
No, we're budgeted by year.
Okay.
That was, so it's likely if there's something left in that account, will be, when I think she was presenting tonight on, doing transfers, balancing out the year end, things of that, so that would be in that whole calculation that she's.
Okay.
She's gonna have
Closing
that
the year out.
presentation for next Monday.
Yeah, so it'll be in there somewhere, but.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion on that? With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.